guys, welcome back. Cyndi Williams here, the Wanderlust CEO. We are doing an amazing show all about podcasting today, and I have an amazing guest. I can't wait to introduce you. If that sounds like fun, keep on listening. That's what we're doing on the show today. Welcome to Bliss to Abundance, the podcast for growth-minded travel entrepreneurs. All right, guys, welcome back. Guys, today we have Raven Blair Glover. She is known as the talk show maven. She has over a decade been in the space, and for over a decade, podcasting landscape. Jack Canfield once praised her for being live on air, saying that out of over 1,000 interviews he'd done, she was one of the best interviewers on the planet. From early daydream of radio becoming a dynamic media force, Raven has curated an extraordinary journey. She is the founder of Raven International Broadcast Media Empire. She is the profitable podcast agency and the amazing Women and Men of Power podcast network. She's a true visionary. Her remarkable achievements include receiving 8 prestigious awards, notably the Barack Obama President's Lifetime Achievement Award. Raven's dedication to amplifying voices has driven her to help others step into their spotlight, including me, guys, with the background as a former CNN radio correspondent, an 8-time award-winning talk show host, and an international best-selling author. Raven's impact resonates globally. Her influence as a mentor and her captivating hosting style have solidified her as a beacon in podcasting and beyond. Raven, welcome. We are so glad to have you on today's show.
I am so excited to be on today's show. Wow. I told you off air, so I'm going to tell everybody now. I wore my Bliss t-shirt because I'm here with Cyndi and I'm just like a little kid. I'm so excited.
I love it. Well, and I figured who better to have on the podcast than pretty much the queen of podcasting. This is so great. You've helped so many people just in their journey, their podcasting journey. You guys, if you even understand, I talked to Raven about this stuff way back when we were still doing stuff on radio together. And then she got into the podcasting game so early. I know it's the trendy thing to do now. Everyone has to have a podcast. So listen, she's got that experience. And so I want to just ask her some really important questions. And I hope this will help all of you travel entrepreneurs and everyone watching the show to understand what you can do to start your own podcast and some things that are really helpful to know. So with that, Raven, let's start with how can podcasting help business owners become more recognizable?
Oh, that's a great question and an easy answer, because when you're podcasting, people that never paid attention to you before, especially if you're interviewing a Jack Canfield or Cyndi Williams or someone that's well-known influencer and stuff, it's going to make you be the Oprah or Larry King in your niche. All of a sudden, everybody wants to be on your show. So it helps business owners become recognizable because you're putting yourself out there as the Oprah or the Larry King or whoever your favorite broadcaster is now or was at one time. Maybe they're no longer here with us. Like I love Larry King. It makes you become them. You are them for that moment. You have a platform, a power platform just like them. And people are leaning in to listen to you. And when they see those top people that you're interviewing, oh my God, you got their attention. Now you might be saying, well, what if I don't interview and I do a still show? You are an expert, just like you're an expert on live stream. If you're on Instagram and all these great platforms we have, it's something about podcast, radio, and TV that they really buy into it. Podcasting's pretty new when you think about radio and TV, but wow, is it impactful. In fact, have you noticed all the terrestrial type stations now have a podcast? And Cyndi, remember, way back, they didn't even want to hear about podcasts, right? So that tells you what it does.
Absolutely. And Raven, why do you think it's so important to really establish that thought leadership through podcasting, like as a medium?
Yeah, because being seen as an expert in your field helps you to gain that trust and that credibility among your target audience. Podcasting offers the platform for you to share your unique ability, your way of
Mhm.
teaching, your thoughts, your lessons, your challenges. And it's going to attract those that are interested, those that
Mhm.
virtually feel you, because this is podcasting. So we'll say they feel you calling their name and they're really raising their hand. That's me. That's me. Like the opening of your show is so important, like yours, Cyndi. You know, it talks about travel, it gets people hyped up about travel. And I love the way you come in right before that to share with them what they can expect, what's coming up, but you don't give them all the steak, you just give them the little sizzle of it. Okay. And so by you, when you start podcasting and you start developing those skills that you see you do over and over again, Cyndi, and your audience sees you do, they're going to, it positions you as the knowledgeable author, authority, I
Mhm.
should say, in your industry, but also it makes you stand out a cut above. Because even though, and I want everyone to get this, even though it seems like there's so many podcasts out there, who needs another one?
Yep.
It's still not saturated. There's still
Mhm.
so much room for you to start your podcast. And as soon as you start it, you're positioning yourself as a knowledgeable authority in your industry.
Yeah, it's establishing that brand authority. And I love what you said about making that personal connection. You know, Raven she was telling me, you guys, for like 2 years, she's like, Cyndi, you got to start your podcast. Cyndi, you got to start your podcast. But I was like, I'm doing the YouTube thing and I'm in a groove over here. But she's like, you have to. And I'm so glad I started when I did. And I'm so glad I've continued to keep up with it because now I have people working with us and, working through our programs and things like that. And they'll say, Cyndi, I'm so glad you had a podcast because I take you on my walks. I take you in the car. Like not everybody they want to watch that visual format. They're auditory learners. So, how does podcasting do you feel like creates that personal connection with an audience?
Well, you just said it right there, Cyndi. It gives them a chance to feel like they're taking you with them at
Mhm.
the gym, in
Right.
the car, shopping and stuff, and they're hearing your voice and they're being inspired, and you're talking to them. You're
Mm,
not behind a podium. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Or in a virtual or live setting at a conference table. They're looking at you as a expert because you position yourself that way. But guess what, Cyndi? They're looking at you as their friend.
Yeah.
Okay, they're you're their friend. You're my best friend, Cyndi. I
Mhm.
gotta listen to her show. Wonder what she's doing today. Oh, I gotta go to take the kids here, take the kids there. But I got it on my iPhone, and I'm gonna listen and take her with me. And they feel
Yep.
like if you miss an episode, you better let them know why, because
Mhm.
they don't want you to let them down, because now this is a pattern for them, this is a routine for them. You're building a personal connection that is fostering genuine loyalty, and it really does turn listeners into fans
Yep.
who believe in you and who believe in your brand. Now, your YouTube videos, and we'll talk about all that, is important too. But the podcasting is when they feel like, okay, this is easy breezy for me. I
Mhm.
can choose when I want to listen. I don't have to worry, oh my God, I missed it, or I've got to sit here and watch it. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree more. And, it's one of those things, they're building that no like trust factor. And usually the next natural step is, or what people will ask me is, well, is podcasting really going to help me attract new customers to my business? Talk to us about
Hmm.
that.
Well, it absolutely will, Cindy, because diversifying your reach, what that does is it's going to ensure you connect with potential customers across, all kind of different platforms and stuff. And that's really, really important. And podcasting, they're looking at, okay, here I'm a guest here, or I'm a listener here, and I'm hearing her talk about her products, I'm hearing her talk about her services. I want to be I want to be a mentor of her, I want to find out more. And so it's going to help turn those listeners into fans, and fans into buyers. Your podcast content, you're going to distribute it out and repurpose
Yep.
it, and that's going to help as well. and attract the business and stuff that you want.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen that
mhm,
in my own podcast too. It's, when you're talking about, like, we have so many stories, case studies out of our travel agency, and we'll
mhm.
say, "Oh, this happened and here's how we helped them and here's how we did this." And guess what? People say, "Oh, that's a person that knows how to solve my problem. That's a person that knows how to do the things." It's just a natural progression. Like, sales doesn't have to feel weird either. I feel
Salesy.
like, once you have
Yeah.
that know, like, trust factor, if you have a solution, someone has a problem, you can help them solve their problem, you get together and you work together. That's this new, authenticity in the marketplace that I love. And I feel like podcasting, and it opens up that kind of that communication channel to make that a more comfortable process for everybody.
That's so important, Cindy, and I hope your listeners heard you on that because you are right on. Listen, there is something important that a lot of podcasters forget, and I want your listeners to lean in on this because this is very important. You
Mm,
have to let them know that you service clients by
right.
using terminology like, my clients, some of my clients this, or my client Cindy did this. Share those stories with them. Don't overdo it because you probably heard that too, Cindy. Some people just every other word is my client. We're not saying that because then you're starting to sound salesy.
You
And
want to
one of
you
the
want to
things,
add the value in
to
what you're
add the
sharing.
value and let
Yeah.
them know. And don't be afraid to put a offer together
Hmm.
and do a call to action. Now, your offer doesn't have to be, pull out your pockets today, but it could be leading them somewhere that will send them to a blog, that will send them to
Yeah.
subscribe to your newsletter. Because one of the biggest mistakes I made on radio when I was on CNN and CBS, I always promoted my guests and I forgot to promote me. And that
Mm.
happens to us podcasters and broadcasters, live streamers, YouTubers. You're like, I'm promoting them. Then you're like, darn, I forgot to mention my stuff. So you have to have the good news about podcasting that radio and TV doesn't have, and of course YouTube has it, is you can put those show notes in there and say,
Mhm.
I was so into such and our guest. It was so amazing. I forgot to mention this to you. I have this free thing. So send them somewhere free, and then when they get something and they're free, have your offer for the next step. It doesn't have to be a big step. Scale
Just
up. Just like
building that
this is
relation
free.
yeah, building that relationship step by step. And
Hmm.
yeah, I found over, when during COVID year was a good example of, as travel was shut down, and we just doubled down on, we're going to provide value, we're going to make great content. We had
Yeah.
exponential growth during that year because we just showed up in love and said, we're going to educate, we're going to train, we're going to do what's on our hearts to do, like, and that's been super helpful, and shown the power of these mediums that we have through podcasting and different avenues. But talk to me a little bit about, how does podcasting help me stand out as a unique brand in my marketplace?
Well, it helps you to stand out as the unique brand in your niche, your industry, as the go-to person, because you are consistent, you're out there, you've positioned yourself, and you're letting them know, and it's okay. Shameless promotion, as they used to call it, where they can get more and how you're able to help them. But the biggest thing that it does, it puts you out there like the Jack Canfields, like the Lisa Nichols, like the Les Browns. They're looking at you the same way. They're looking at you like the Oprah, and all the people that you see on TV because you have a podcast. Here's the best part about it right now. We're in
Yeah,
the year 2023, and I'm sure you would agree, Cyndi, podcasting has never, ever been as big as it is now. Would you agree?
I agree. You just sent me a text that I hit my 25,000 download. I don't even watch my own stats. Raven sends them to
Now
me
I'm
and
going
she's
to give
like,
you a clap.
I know. Well, yeah, we have confetti somewhere around here. I love it. But it's exciting to watch that progression. I'm like, holy cow, like 25,000 different times we were
Yeah.
in someone's ears, and, like, building that relationship and helping them, hopefully, whether they're a client yet or not. But, like, the power of the reach, I think, is so meaningful. And, that here's one of the things I see when we coach our clients, and maybe you see this too, but talk to
Hmm.
us about how podcasting can challenge challenge me to step out of my comfort zone, develop a new skill. I know everyone, if you're listening, you're like, I can't do one more thing, but talk to us about if they're nervous about it. How do they get out of their comfort zone? Why is that important?
Well, I love talking about this one. And I'm going to share a quick little story because I always wanted to be on radio from the age of 13, 14. I used to sneak to the neighborhood radio station because, of course, then they didn't have podcasts back in my day. And as I got older, I became more of an introvert for so many just personal, emotional reasons and stuff. And when I finally launched my podcast, I heard a man by the name of Alex Mendoza when I was sitting at the hospital by my mom's bedside at the age of 55 is when I started. I heard someone say the quickest way to become an expert is to interview other experts.
Mm,
And he said by doing that, you can take that recording and put it on this new thing called podcast, and thousands of people would hear you.
yeah,
And you would go from an unknown, get this, you go from unknown to being a expert instantly
yeah.
if you interview other experts.
Hmm.
And that pushed me out of my comfort zone. So he said, ask a question, zip it. Ask a question, zip it. Ask the next question, zip it. I'm like, well, I can do that. And I wanted to be a speaker. That was my dream. I wanted to be on the radio. That was my dream, but I never did it. So hearing him say that the quickest way to become an expert is to interview other experts and ask one question, zip it, ask the next, zip it, and record it, and I would get famous, I would get known, I would become the expert. It pushed me out of my comfort zone because I knew what I wanted to do inside. But I
Hmm.
was this Casper in a way, and I felt dismissed, overlooked, underheard. But the minute I did that, and it wasn't even anybody big, it was just a friend of my sister's that wrote a book with Six I Get Laundry. All
Hmm.
of a sudden, people started emailing me. I would get requests to be on my podcast that hadn't been up but for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So it will help you step into your power. And I always tell
Hmm.
people, Cyndi, I found my power behind the mic. I always had
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
I didn't unleash it. So it'll stretch. In fact, I had a client that I was talking, a potential client I was talking to yesterday, and I met her on Lisa Nichols' call about speaking. And we were in a breakout room. We met, and I told her, I said, connect with me later. And afterwards, when we had our one-on-one session, I said, this is going to be the easy way for you to start speaking. So start
Yeah.
thinking about this. You're behind the mic.
Yep.
If you're not on YouTube or anything like
Hmm.
that, nobody sees you, and you're
Hmm.
just talking to that person, asking questions that you want to know. And if you don't know what questions to ask, tell your audience, I'm getting ready to interview someone on this. What
Yeah.
are some of your biggest challenge? And I'll ask them that question. And it will just push you out there into the power that's
Yeah.
already within you. You just haven't unleashed it yet.
There's
Take it from a
that's
Casper
that's
person,
such, yeah,
past Casper.
that's such good advice, Raven. And I think there's so much value in that first year of learning your own voice as you
Yeah.
interview, as you're interacting with experts, as you're doing all the things. But then you get more comfortable. If every show only gets 1% better in 100 shows, you're going to be 100% better. So you just kind of got to get out there and get out of that comfort zone. I think that's great advice. Now, the next question I have for you, this is, I hear this all the time with my clients, is I'm thinking about a podcast, but they don't really understand how to get syndicated on other platforms. Talk to us about how we can do that, or how they do that.
Okay. Well, one of the things about it is, and that's a really good question, is nowadays it's easier to get syndicated than
Mhm.
it ever was before. Because when I first started with, what was I? I think Podomatic or something was the platform I was on, and we uploaded my podcast. It was only on Podomatic.
Mm,
Now, when you upload your podcast in most of those podcast platforms, it's automatically going to syndicate you on 5 or 6 different other platforms, right? You're on, okay, iHeart Podcasts and this and that. And then doing like you did. This is a way of syndicating just what she's doing by putting it on YouTube, right? And
mhm.
distributing it out. So there's so many different places you can do. Now, if you want to go to radio, then you start sending them a little sizzle of what your show is, along with a little written information about your show, a little bit about you, and let them know that you have 25,000 downloads,
Mm,
and you would, love to see if they're open to bringing some extra content, even if it's on one of your slow days. You just want to get out there. See, a
yeah.
lot of times people start thinking about going to the top.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go to those low watt 50, whatever it is, kilowatt stations
Mhm.
just to get your foot in the door. I didn't end up on the CNN and CBS radio in Houston at first. I just started at a small station that was in Rhode Island. But that person reached out to me, and you know how you can get syndicated is the same way I do. Keep doing what you're doing, and like Cyndi does. And again, if you have an interview in your niche, because that will get you there faster rather than slower. And especially if you interview someone that is a well-known in your industry. Doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
celebrity, but someone that's got books out there and people know. Because how I got on the video and got syndicated was someone heard an interview I did my first few months on my podcast of Jane Kennedy. And at that time, she was well-known actress, black actress. People hadn't heard from her from years. And Ebony Magazine, all these people started getting me. And one
Mhm.
person had a radio station, and that's how I was able to get on. So get out there, do your thing, and don't forget to ask. What's that saying? If you don't ask, you don't get. Don't wait to be discovered. Put yourself out there boldly and go for what you want.
I love that. That's such great advice. Don't think you're going to turn on your podcast day one and you're going to be at the top of the charts, right? Like everything else worth doing, you have to do the work. You have to kind of go up the rungs. But what I found is I encourage my clients to show up every week in your business, get visible, do the things that you want to do. So I think that's great advice. Now, another question we get a lot is, what about monetizing? Can I monetize my podcast? If so, how do I do that? What are your suggestions?
Oh, money, money, money. Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes. You
Yeah.
better monetize your podcast. That's what got me
Yes.
to create the Profitable Podcaster Agency, because
Mhm.
I got those questions all the time too. And I was one of those people that, well, my hit show at the time was Amazing Women and Men of Power. And I was seriously thinking about changing it to Raven Live from the Streets of Houston. And I really mean live from the streets of Houston, because I was
Yeah.
about ready to be on the streets, because
Yeah.
people don't realize that you're pouring everything. You're taking all your little income to, get your equipment and to look good out there and get the things you need. And you're not getting paid for it, right?
Mhm.
You're not getting paid for it. So you have to kind of create what you want. When you sit in the chair at your kitchen table, whatever you're doing your podcast, act like you're at CNN, NBC, ABC, one of those big broadcasters, and come with that power. And when you come with that power, you have to think, how am I going to be monetizing this particular show?
Yep.
Okay. And do that in the planning of your show. Don't put it in the background. Put it in the forefront on
Mm.
how you're going to monetize your show. So let's talk about that. Is this interview or this particular show, are you going to take it and turn it, like we said a few minutes ago, into content, into a book,
Yeah.
into, are you going to take bits and pieces and put and create a report, and then maybe do a video on the top talking points? Are
Mhm.
you going to take that interview and then take 5 or 6 other interviews and start a series of book? I think our first book was Careers from the Kitchen Table, which we took from one of my shows. And we just took all our different, not all, the top interviews that the guests voted on, and we put them in a book. And we
Mm.
started selling our first book. Then it became a series. I think we did 5 or 6 each year. And
Yeah.
I sold ads for that.
Mm.
People that wanted to be interviewed in the book, I sold that as an opportunity. You can open up your podcast and do guest sponsorships. Sometimes it's hard to get those big sponsors. Now
Yeah.
Cyndi with 25,000, and that's just on the podcast, and all the other things she has, she could easily get a sponsor. But what
Mhm.
if you're just starting? Is they're going to look at your numbers, especially now that social media and everybody's got these humongous numbers. And if you don't have a name out there, you're probably going to get a no. But there's so many people that are just in the same situation you are, and they just want to be
Yeah.
visible. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. Offer them, hey, listen, normally I sell a spot for $97.
Mm-hmm.
Today and right now only, I'm going to take off $50.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not making anything and you're getting $50 for each guest that wants to get visibility, you
Right.
just made yourself, $200. And
Yep.
then you raise it up and you raise it up and you create products, create courses. There's so much. You have to give me an hour on that, because that's why we open up the Profitable
Well,
Podcast
that's
Radio
true.
to say
Well,
I'm
and
all
don't
about
get
making money.
when you're new, it is hard. So I want to encourage everyone, like, don't get discouraged out there. Speaking of Jack Canfield, he has a great quote that lives rent free in my head. And it says, if they say no, you say next. If they say no, you say next.
There you
And I
go.
love that. Everything with podcasting, speaker, like things that I've done in my career, I was told no. Like, I know you guys are like, oh, Cyndi does all these things and she's everywhere. It took me forever to get everywhere because it was no after no after no after no after no. And then once in a while you get a yes. So like expect it to be, a little bit harder at the beginning, but that's okay. You just have to keep, if you keep showing up and share what you love and do those pieces, it makes a big, big difference. So, Raven, my community does a lot in the travel industry. So they, a lot of times are promoting trips or packages or tours, or maybe they have a product or a book that they're working on. Do you tell us your perspective on, do you think that they're going to turn off viewership, or I guess we should call it listening, but do you think that's going to change the dynamic of their show or make their listeners go elsewhere because they promote products? What are your thoughts on that?
You know what? That's a very, very good question. And in fact, we were on Clubhouse and people were like, it's getting too salesy and stuff. I think if you sound salesy and you're just always hammering them with
Mm-hmm.
a product or service and not giving them content, Cyndi,
Right.
then yes, it can get to be, okay, what's she gonna sell today, right? So that's why you always want to lead with content. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to tell them from the beginning, listen, we've got 30 minutes or we got 45 minutes or whatever. So, I got this great guest and then I've got some things I want to share with you. And at the end, for those of you that need a little bit more hand holding, for those of you that feel like, but Raven, I've been stuck here for so long. I hear your good guests and stuff, but I just can't get there, then you'll have an opportunity to, book a time slot on my calendar. Or we've got,
Yeah.
an audio series that we just put up for you because we've heard so many of you and we understand that you're in pain. You see what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
Cyndi? If you
Yeah.
come to them like that and speak from your heart, your gut, and your soul, not from your pocket, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
that's a whole difference. But lead with content that's going to
Mm-hmm.
help them. Make sure what you're bringing to them is something that they're dealing with every day. And
Yep.
it doesn't always have to be challenges and setbacks. Be okay. It's okay to do a podcast about the joy
Right.
of what they're getting. It's not always like a person is in pain. Some people are enjoying, they want more of it, So, but
Mm-hmm.
you got to find out what it is that they desire, what
Yep.
it is that they're in pain for, the challenge, the setbacks they're having, and address it all. That's what
Yep.
Cyndi do. You do that naturally, but
Yeah.
you've always done that naturally. That's just you.
Well, and I think when you lead with love and you show that value, and to put it into
Hmm.
travel industry terms, like if I'm coaching someone or mentoring them to get their podcast started, I would say, where do you love to travel to? What are 5 ungoogleable things you could share with people? What are the pain points when you traveled there? What are the things you could talk about? That becomes content for your podcast. And if you
Yeah.
really do it for the reason of helping others and you put that out in the universe, I'm a big believer, and you put all of that stuff out, it will come back to you, because a percentage of those people are going to resonate with who you are, how you want to serve the world, and they're going to want to take that next step to learn from you or book travel with you or all of the different things that you can use a podcast to leverage. But I agree
Yeah.
with Raven, lead with your heart, lead with love, and what you can deliver value wise, that will pay. Trust me, it's like putting money in the bank that will come back to you, and just with interest attached, for sure.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
Raven, one of the things you've done a great job of, and I feel like I've done a decent job of, is creating a community around our brands. Talk to us
Hmm.
about how a podcast can help really create and build communities around our brands.
Yeah, a podcast can definitely help, but you kind of have to help it help you. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, Cindy?
Yeah.
And by that, I mean, you want to build a Facebook community. You want to build some type of community or some type of platform to share with those listeners and say, hey, you've been asking us this, we're getting your emails and stuff, but we want to, and we appreciate being connected to you, but we have just decided to open up a community so we can really get to know you and you can get to know us. These are things that we're going to share like we've been sharing, but these are things we don't have time to share on air. So let's meet on our Facebook page. Let's meet here. Let's meet there. Because a strong community, as you know, Cyndi, increases brand loyalty, encourages repeat business, and generates, referrals. People are going to talk about it. They're going to bring their friends, and you're going to remind them that this is a community, a safe space where they can talk about what they want. We'll
Mm-hmm.
make sure we handle your challenges. You're going to get special discounts, get that VIP treatment, and we'll pull back the curtain so you can see some of what we do every day, how we do our show. You'll even see me sometimes when I crash and my internet goes down. But guess what? You'll see me come right back up and deal with it, and you'll learn from that.
Yeah, it's the deeper connections
It's the
and
deeper
giving
connection. Yeah.
people that space where you can all connect together. They get to know you a little bit more and kind of build that relationship even before you're really officially working in a capacity together. And it's a really rewarding part. I can't tell you how many times I've had people DM me or even meet me out in the parks at Disney, and they're like, Cyndi Williams, and they'll walk up to me like, hey, Cyndi, and I'm like, I don't know you, but they're like, you've helped me so much. I've been listening to your podcast or watching you on YouTube, and I'm like, that's amazing. So, but building that community, it just creates an energy around your brand, and that's
Yeah.
hard to replicate. If you're trying to go, how am I different from the next person? That it's really hard. It's really hard to replicate that if you can create that energy. I love that. I need to take a moment to thank our sponsor for today before we say goodbye to Raven. I want to encourage you guys, visit us over at careersonvacation.com if you want to learn a little bit more about how we help travel agents grow your businesses. That's what we do over at Wanderlust Campus. So I want to thank you, Raven, for being on the show today. I just feel like we've had a absolute legend on the podcast. The work that you have done in the industry has been phenomenal. Thank you for sharing this with my community. I know they are going to love this. We are constantly helping people kind of encourage them to get their podcast started when they get to a certain level of growing their travel business. And I think this is just a really nice on topic, especially for people that have that big heart to share. But tell everybody
Yeah.
where they can follow you so they know where to find you on socials or where you'd like to them to connect with
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. And in fact, I've got a free gift for your listeners, and that's that you can follow me at podunityconnect.com. I'm just going to send you there for right now. Podunityconnect.com. And I'm sure Cyndi will have a link to it. And when you get there, it will talk to you about our new community, as you know, Cyndi, where podcasters, broadcasters, live streamers, and YouTubers can meet us over there 24/7. There's lounges in there. There's all kind of experiences. You can ride our virtual limo or a virtual plane and be on the water virtually and be there with your fans. Actually have listener parties. We have lounges where you can meet your fans, run contests where they can meet you. PodUnityConnect.com. You get one free ticket by going there and opting in, and it says who you referred by. Click down and you'll see Cyndi Williams' name. Click on her name and all of other broadcasters and hosts, but click on Cyndi's name so we know you came from here, and we'd love to see you. It's going to be on the 29th on Tuesday. Oh my God, it's so
Oh, it's so
close.
exciting. And I got a sneak peek of it, guys, last week. I'm so excited. I cannot even tell you. Raven and her team have done a fantastic job of creating these interactive virtual environments that I can't wait to use. I'm really excited about it. So we'll be using it for sure in the future, both internally with our team and in the different mediums out there in the world. So we're really excited about that. So definitely check her out. We'll
Awesome.
definitely link that down below. But Raven, thank you for being on the show today. As always,
Well,
it's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
I can't wait to have you on my show. And thank you all, Cyndi's listeners, and keep sharing her podcast and downloading, because I want to see her be the first on our family of hosts to hit 30 and 40 and 50,000. Go get your big sponsor,
I'm
girl. You done
so
earned that right.
excited. Yes, I love it. I'm super excited. Guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.